everyone has their moments, in athletics. So you have some people coming out of high school, like you said, he was a star. He was number one in the state. But a coach is going to want to work with someone who puts 110% effort on the practice field,
Absolutely.
on, playing field, than to have to deal with that one that's like, oh my God, what did he do now?
Few with the bosses view. You gotta sacrifice. You wanna move like bosses move.
YMA, Young Millionaires Association. Yeah, see, that's the association. Joe.
Welcome to YMANATION podcast, episode 64. Welcome to Sports Talk Friday. As you see, we do not have Joe today. So we have a special guest, Mr. Merritt Gantt. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself, and then we have some news to get into, and then we're going to get into Merritt Gantt's story. So,
Hi, well, thanks for having me today. My name is Merritt Gantt. I am a radon measurement mitigation contractor. So that invisible gas that everybody talks about when you're buying a home, that's what I do. I measure that and I mitigate it. But more importantly, I am a former Clemson athlete. And so I heard, again, this is the place to be if we're going to talk about Clemson athletics. So thanks for having me.
Yes. We're super excited. He's got a really great story, guys. So y'all stay tuned for that. But there's a couple of announcements that I need to make from Joe, who's not with us this Friday. Monday, Wealth Building Monday. You have to tune in. We are doing the cash drawing that he mentioned. So if you are a part of that drawing, if you're not a part of the drawing, there may be another one soon. So you want to stay tuned in. That will be happening on Wealth Building Monday. So stay tuned for the episode Wealth Building Monday. And Mr. Merritt was saying that he does radon testing, which for all of we have a lot of people who watch the Real Estate Wednesday episodes, and radon testing is very important if you're looking to purchase a home or you already have a home. Every 2 years.
Yep. So you want to retest every 2 years. It's really important in real estate transactions, of course. But just if you have a house, you want to make sure you're breathing good quality air. So absolutely test your home for radon.
See, y'all get Real Estate Wednesday on Sports Talk Friday. We always give y'all
we're
tidbits. Yeah, all the time. So to get into your story, actually, you came to do the testing at our house, our home, and because we follow procedure, of course, and we want to make sure we're breathing healthy air, right? We need to be here for the podcast for you guys. So just tell us about your story, as your background and how you became a Clemson student athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I was testing their home for radon, and I noticed all the Clemson paraphernalia. And I was like, oh man, anytime I see that, that's great. Cause they're just good people. Good Clemson Tigers.
Yeah, there we go.
Tigers stick together. There we go. No, so you guys asked me about my, experience at Clemson, and I had the opportunity to be a Clemson athlete. So I played a lot of sports in high school: baseball, football, golf. I shot shotgun. Did a lot of things. I went to small private school, so I had that opportunity to do that. Never, ever thought that I would be a Clemson athlete, though. But I had a friend, what was that? I guess that was my junior year, and she said, hey, I think I'm going to try to walk on to the track field team for women's javelin. And I said, oh, my goodness, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard of. So I started watching YouTube videos on how to throw the javelin. Of course, being from South Carolina, I'd never seen a javelin, never even thought about that. But, I had a strong arm. I was a baseball player. Yeah. And so I said, man, I'm going to try that as well. So I said, hey, would you get me in touch with the coach? So she said, yeah, sure. So meanwhile, I was doing karaoke and throwing a broomstick in my backyard and just practicing. I was trying to chase the dream.
So look, he's telling you guys, just because you don't have all of the correct materials don't mean you can't practice, right?
Absolutely. You got to get creative sometimes.
Yeah.
But so I got in touch with the coach, and he said, hey, come meet me at the track at this day, at this time. And so I went and met with him, and I said, hey, I'd like to try out to throw the men's javelin. You don't have a spot. You don't have anybody throwing. I'd like to try to fill that. And he said, okay, we need to do this, that, go get this physical and get this test and this doctor to write this. So I went and did all of that, and I came back, and I said, by the way, I said, how far do these guys throw? I said, because, I've been throwing a broomstick about 50 yards. And he laughed and shook his head. And but long story short is he said, hey, I'm going to give you a shot, and we're going to try you out for 2 days a week for about 4 weeks. And if I think you have what it takes, then we'll go forward. And if not, then it'll just be a cool experience and you can move on. And so he really taught me, Sean Kobe taught me everything I knew about javelin. He taught me how to hold it and how to throw it. And this is what the stance looks like, and this is your footwork. And we did all that for about 4 weeks, and it was right at spring break. And he said, hey, what are you doing for spring break? I said, well, if we're going to be practicing, I'm going to be here in Clemson, and I'm going to stay, and I'm going to practice. And he said, I want you to come on Monday. I'm going to add you to the roster. I'm going to get you all your gear, and we're going to do this. And that was my first season. And so we were supposed to go to Florida State that weekend of spring break, and I had never registered with the NCAA clearinghouse. Again, I never thought I was going to be an athlete, so never went through with that. So spring break was on the phone with my high school, and Clemson was on the phone with the NCAA, and they got everything pushed through. And the next week, so I missed that first meet, but the next meet I went to Auburn for my first meet ever. And then the second week I went to ACC championships in Raleigh, North Carolina. So that was kind of a sprint from there, but it was a really awesome just opportunity. I was very fortunate, very blessed.
So a key point that I want to take from something you said is the coach asked him, what are you doing for spring break? Which we know, college kids, spring break, woo,
yeah,
right?
That's
Party
supposed
time.
to be a big party time. Absolutely. We're going to Panama, right?
Right.
Yep.
Going somewhere.
Sure.
But even though you know, it wasn't in your wheelhouse to ever do this, you took that initiative to say, well, if this is what I'm doing, I'm staying here.
Absolutely.
If you haven't practiced, I'm staying here. And a lot of young people that get involved in sports, or anything, band, any extracurricular activity, you have to have that will of sacrifice sometimes.
Sure.
If you have practice, then you have practice. That comes first, and then your fun comes later.
Absolutely.
Of course, because I'm sure some of the experiences that you had in traveling to different schools, like you went to Auburn and you went to the ACC championship, some of those experiences are experiences that some people will never get to have.
Absolutely.
So tell us about your traveling with the team and how.
So I'll back up and go to a practice. So again, it was right after spring break. It was, I think, the week after. I had on my Clemson apparel, my tennis shoes, and I was warming up on the track, and I kind of looked down and had this just realization of this is real. I have now become a Division I athlete, and I am representing Clemson. And so from there it was 5 or 6 meets in the spring. We traveled to different states, got to go to Florida State, Georgia Tech a couple times, try to think, North Carolina, NC State. It was an awesome experience. So we would load up sometimes middle of the week or towards the end of the weekend, and we would go and we'd travel, and then we'd be there for a couple days, and then we'd come back.
Yeah. How was it going to those places and experiencing, had you traveled a lot before you got into?
No, not really. I hadn't. I'd been a couple different campuses for, football games and that sort of thing, but never really had gotten out. It was my first meet. It was actually at Auburn, like I said earlier, and I was so antsy. I was so excited.
Were you more nervous or excited? Excited about seeing it and being there, in the facilities and
all the above.
all-
Yeah, I
all
was
of the
excited. Oh man, I get to travel and get to go do this, and I get to throw the javelin and actual meet for the first time. And it was probably 3 hours before I'm supposed to perform, and I was warming up on the track, and some of the older members, Brittany Waller and Corey, they were like, "Hey, you need to just chill out, just calm down. You got plenty of time." They could kind of pick up on my excitedness, but they were good mentors to me. But so after that first meet kind of settled in, it's kind of okay. Here's the rhythm. This is what it looks like to be a part of this team. This is kind of the expectation of you when you travel. You're representing the university. You're representing Clemson Athletics, men's track and field. So it was a big learning curve at first. But after that, it was just like anything. You kind of develop a rhythm. You get into that rhythm, and then you do your best at it.
So. So what advice would you give? Because I know that college course loads are a lot different than, when you're in high school. High school, if you're on a block schedule, you have 4 classes, you have practice after school and things like that. So it's very simplified as a high school athlete. And then some of them get to college and you have 3 and 4 practices a day sometimes.
Yep.
And fitting your workload into that with your studying. And what did you say would be was some of that challenging, like to get used to once you figured, oh my goodness, I'm a student athlete, now I have to figure out. So tell me a little bit about that, and what advice you would give to high school athletes that are wanting to become college athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll take that in kind of 2 parts.
Okay.
First part I would say is if you're gonna be in athletics in college, love what you do. If you're just gonna go at it half-heartedly, or because your friends showed up at football practice, so you went to football practice, I would say this is probably not a good fit for you. But if you love the game, if you love the sport, whatever that is, football, baseball, basketball, golf, tennis, you name it. If you truly love it, then go for it. I would say if you have those dreams, you have those aspirations, go for it. And then the second part, just kind of the coursework and the load and how do you handle all that. Absolutely, college athletics is a big step from high school. You definitely have lifting, conditioning, then you have practice, and then you have all these different things. If you're a scholarship athlete, you're required to do a certain amount of study hall hours. So definitely a big step from high school. But I'll say it's like anything in life. With discipline, you can manage it. Now you're not going to have time for everything. So if you're looking, and I hate to say it,
if you want to party on Fridays.
I hate to say it. We had a teammate who was just gifted. He was gifted in his event. Just amazing. He came out of his state. He was number 1 in his state. Got to school. Was just a phenomenal, incredible athlete. But he liked to party, and he didn't really want to work hard, and so he ended up not making it. And that's the case. That'll be the case for a lot of people. But I will say that's one of the things we talked about in your basement. One of the things that I learned is there are going to be people in life that are just phenomenally gifted. They've got all the talent in the world, but they're not willing to work hard. And then there's people like myself. I wasn't necessarily the best athlete. I never achieved greatness, but I was willing to work hard. And I can truly say I gave 110%. And so that's what I would say. Work hard, be disciplined, and you can make it. It really is a possibility.
Yeah, and I tell my son too, I said, everyone has their moments, in athletics. So you have some people coming out of high school, like you said, he was a star. He was number one in the state. But a coach is going to want to work with someone who puts 110% effort on the practice field,
Absolutely,
on, playing field, than to have to deal with that one that's like, oh my God, what did he do now? Or, not showing up to practice on time or missing practices. Coaches have not a lot of tolerance for that because there's so many kids that want that opportunity.
Yep.
That will work hard for it. So it's not just something that is, given to you. You have to work for it. So I think that's a great point that you bring up, that you can't just expect to get it just because you're good at it.
Absolutely.
You can't just expect to get it.
Another thing, and kind of going off the lines of what you just said, be coachable. That's another thing, because you might be that best athlete in your high school, but the coach that recruited you, or the coach that's giving you that opportunity, he sees something greater inside of you. He sees more talent, more than you could imagine, more than you could think of. And so he's the one who, at the end of the day, is trying to develop that talent and make you the best. And so the guys that are really coachable, they have the ability to craft that talent and take it further. The guys that aren't coachable and they kind of hang on to the glory days in high school, those guys don't really ever go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And that brings me to, there's a couple of Clemson athletes that fall into that category. I mean, you have Darian Kendrick. Yeah,
I won't mention any names.
But seriously, I mean, because it's just out there on the news platforms already. This is someone who was starting. You're starting corner for Clemson football. You're starting. You know how hard that is?
That's a big deal, especially football. Football's it's pretty deep.
Yeah. And it's almost like, and when me and my son talked about the situation, he was dismissed from the team. And then like less than a week later, he got arrested, on charges in Mark Hill, South Carolina. And, he's innocent until proven guilty, but my son was like, well, he just threw away everything, and that goes back to being coachable,
Sure.
Because I think it was more along the lines of that. Like, we're trying to guide you in the right direction, and you can't fight your coach as to what they're trying to make you into because of that reason.
Absolutely.
They're trying to build you. And someone said something to me probably like last week, and it was like, if you go in and you think you know everything, then there's nothing to teach you.
Yeah, that's very true.
So
Sure.
If you go in and you're telling your coach, well, this is the way I do it, or this is the way it's done, then if you already know everything, then what do you need the coach for?
Yep.
And it becomes difficult for the coach to then want to continue to try to drive you to greatness.
Absolutely. Again, going back to my story, I'll give you an example. So my junior year, we had an interim coach, Sean Kobe, and he's the man who taught me how to hold a javelin, how to throw it, got me up and running. The best I ever threw was my junior year. My senior year, we got a new head coach, Coach Elliott. He came from LSU. He has a ton of titles to his name. He's a phenomenal coach. Hired a completely new staff. I got a new throws coach. And Coach Weir taught me technique. He taught me the fundamentals, kind of started over almost. But it really changed up how I threw and actually performed worse my senior year than I did my junior year. But with that, and kind of going to your point, even though I threw worse, I feel like I still got better. And I hate I ran out of time and didn't have more time to develop that. But again, going back to your point, I trusted the process. I was trusting my coach. He had my best interests in mind and was trying to make.
I started off checking it every other week, just like most people do. Then it got out of control. I couldn't help myself. I started checking it day after day after day. I didn't realize that I was becoming addicted until my wife said something.
What did she say?
She said, "It's just a credit score, relax."
Are you checking your credit score?
Huh? Hold on.
Me a better athlete.
Right.
And sometimes that's what you'll see in life. Sometimes you'll kind of take a step back in order to go forward. So absolutely be coachable and be willing to trust the process, trust the coach, trust the people in your life that are trying to make you better.
I think that is excellent because we talk about that on Not Real Estate Wednesday. We talk about it on Wealth Building Monday. And we've even talked about it here is in order to reach your goals, sometimes you have to fail or sometimes you have to, lose a little to gain a lot, and it always doesn't fit into your time frame. It always, just like you said, I wish I would have had more time, and so you really begin to understand that, time isn't everything, just because I want to do something in 6 months or I want to do something in 3 months, sometimes you have to take a step back, and that may push out your time frame, but it's for the better gain.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure the coach, you've talked highly of all the coaches you had.
Oh,
and
yeah, they were all phenomenal men.
So I hope that the young people watching have really taken a lot from your story because, everybody that's a high school athlete that wants to be in college, they have to understand really the sacrifice it is and how difficult and hard it is to, you miss family time, you miss holidays sometimes.
Yep.
Did you miss holidays?
Weekends.
Weekends.
Time with your friends. Absolutely. It's definitely a commitment for sure.
Yeah. So this just goes to show in everything you do in life, there's commitment that you have to do. We talk about if you're going to purchase a home, you have to be committed. If you're starting a business, the business that you're in, you have to obtain clients and get customers, and you have to work hard to do that, and you have to be committed and believe in your job and yourself. So we talk about it on all of our episodes. So I think it's always great when we can come back around to that. It's always about committing yourself to whatever it is that you're doing, because I'm sure with the radon testing and what you do now, you're 100% committed and you want people to understand it and know it. And so the same thing with sports. If you play football, if you play basketball, if you play soccer, be 100% committed.
Absolutely.
Or if you don't want to do that full time, then, do it for a hobby or, on your free time. But there's so many people that want to get to that next level.
Absolutely. So I tell myself now, again, I'm not in athletics now, but I always joke with my wife and I say, today I'm going to be the best radon guy that I can be. So I say that to say, if you're a football player, basketball player, in the band, math team, it doesn't really matter, but whatever that is, whatever avenue you find yourself in life, be the best that person that you can be. Give 110% and try to be the best at what you do. Real estate, be the best real estate agent that you can be, or the best broker. Absolutely.
The best broker, or whatever comes your way, be your best at it.
Absolutely.
So I love when the guest speakers that we have on, it always transitions back to just everything that we try to instill into our followers and our listeners, that you have the capability. like he said, he'd never even imagined being a student athlete. You know,
Nope, not at all.
that wasn't in his, will of destiny, but it was.
Yep.
Right? So you can't limit yourself. You just have to go for things sometimes. And,
Absolutely.
you never know how good you can be at something if you never try.
That's a really good point. You'll never get anywhere if you don't try. That's a phenomenal point.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have it and you think that it's something that you could be 100% committed to and you really want to learn it, and I tell it to people who want to become real estate agents, it's hard. It's not easy. And, it's a process and you have to be committed to it. So just the same with student athletes, you have to be committed to it. But, don't think that you can't or you'll never try to do it. And you could limit yourself from your goals and things that you could be, right?
Absolutely.
So, well, our time is running out, guys. So we will be back for Wealth Building Monday. And I hope you enjoyed Merritt's Story. We appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you so much again for having me today.
And hopefully it inspired some people to, really analyze what they want to do and, make some life choices,
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
All right. Until Monday, Wealth Building Monday. I don't know what we're talking about because Joe don't tell me. We appreciate you coming out and being a part of this and this Sports Talk Friday. We have a lot of sports to get to next Friday, so y'all stay tuned for that. And then I have a special guest for Real Estate Wednesday, too. I know, Joe just took the whole week off or something. I don't know. But thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you on Wealth Building Monday.